Shir is dedicated to Nishmas Rachalei Bas Chaim Tzvi.
This is a very, very special time of year, Rabbi Isaacson.
Yes, it is.
It's a time of renewal.
Indeed.
Of Rosh Hashana, the beginning of the year. I found historically that some of the other Yom Tovim have a lot of good paraphernalia. Like on Sukkot, I'm always excited to have the I have branches, I have fruit, I'm sitting in a hut, it's great.
Mm-hmm.
Pesach, you have matzah, and then at the Seder, you have 4 kosos, all these things. Rosh Hashana also has its share of paraphernalia.
Sure.
And we were asked specifically to speak about that aspect of Rosh Hashana.
The shofar.
The shofar is the primary one that's mentioned, I believe, in the Torah itself.
Sure.
But I think that many have spoken about the shofar. But I think we were asked to speak more specifically about something which is customarily presented in the meal, during the mealtime. Can you guess what that is?
In the mealtime, well, I'm going to guess we're talking about the Simanim. The signs, the symbols that that the Minhag Yisrael has developed to have Simanim at the table, signs at the table, symbols at the table, and we open up our Rosh Hashanah meal with these Simanim.
So, are you saying that the Rosh Hashanah is the only Yom Tov where we have Simanim and symbols at the table?
No, not at all. I think, as you mentioned, Pesach is replete with symbols on the table. Charoses is Zecher, Pit, a Zecher, a remembrance for the mortar in Egypt. A lot of the holidays have symbols. The shofar on Rosh Hashanah certainly symbolizes the Akedah of Yitzchak. Certainly, Yadus is full of symbols, things that will spark us, inspire us to create visions of how we're supposed to properly celebrate the day. When it comes to Rosh Hashanah, however, we have what some might argue is a strange, a little bit, minhag, which is really a very, very old minhag. In fact, it's found in the Gemara. The Gemara discusses Maseches Horios and in Maseches Krisos certain kinds of, we'll call it borderline things that look like superstitions.
Okay.
And but that were accepted, were legitimate, and from this the Gemara has the following statement. Abaye says, Omar Abaye, we see from here Simana Milsa, that these symbols have value, have meaning, and therefore he says the minute was developed, and it's again already during the time of the Amoran, during the time of Abaye, to go ahead and have certain kinds of foods on Rosh Hashanah, the beginning of the year, that will symbolize, that will be sparks of inspiration for us throughout the year.
Okay. I noticed a lot of things, even besides symbols, a lot of these mystical things seem to creep in more into Rosh Hashanah than any other time. For example, we do certain things like when we do blow shofar, when we don't blow shofar, when we do bless the new moon, when we don't bless the new moon, to, so to speak, confuse the Satan.
Right.
This is the only time of year when I hear about we're trying to confound Satan.
Right.
For what it's worth. To me, I can't even understand the philosophical idea behind what it would mean to have a Satan, good and evil. Perhaps it's not the place for here.
Right.
But this mysticism, or so to speak, and symbolism of which you speak, seems to be replete in Rosh Hashanah in particular. I wonder if you had thoughts on why that might be.
It's interesting. There are different strains to explain these minhagim, and there is the mystical streak. And to be honest, my background is not of that school. I'm not a Kabbalist of any sense.
I've been heard you described as a rationalist.
Yes, perhaps. But there are explanations, and I think the best way to view it from that perspective is basically this is the beginning of the year. Rosh Hashanah, we refer to the Tfilos as Yom Haras Olam, the day of creation. And this is the day of creation. This is also the first day of the Jewish calendar, and it's a time period where we want to inspire ourselves to properly be Makabel Ol Malchus Shamayim, to properly connect to Hashem as the Melech. That's what this day is all about. And I would suggest, I haven't seen this anywhere, but I would suggest perhaps a shot is that we take ordinary items, very ordinary objects, a carrot, a leek, a pomegranate, very common kinds of foods, and you say that even these items are can be source of inspiration. Hashem created these items, and we can even learn things from these items. And this is, I would suggest perhaps an idea that, just like, for example, in the beginning of Shulchan Aruch, we're told that there's a proper way to put on your shoes. You first put on your right shoe, then your left shoe, then you tie your left shoe, then you tie your right shoe. The reason for that Does it really matter how we tie on?
Is it going to make you a better person?
Is this a real? But it's in Shulchan Aruch. So what exactly is the idea over here? So just when it comes to shoes, there's a certain preference for right in general.
Right.
In general, when it comes to tying, we have a preference for left. We put on our tefillin on our weaker hand on our left. So to kind of always remember Hashem in our lives, always remember mitzvos in our lives. So the Torah tells us, the Chazal tell us, Shulchan Aruch tells us that we should try and insert even in the most mundane activities, have activities that will remind us of the Ribono Shalom. Even the low activity of putting on your shoe, a seemingly menial activity, also there we can derive some godliness from that. And in the first day of the year, where we want to inspire, realize that Hashem is the Melech, and that we are His people. So we take these items and we endow them with a certain, not a bracha, but a certain tefillah, a yehi ratzon, that constantly forces us to be cognizant of Hashem in this world, Hashem is our Melech, and to draw inspiration therefrom.
Beautiful idea, Rabbi Isaacson. I thank you for that. So let's break it down.
Okay.
Let's break down the items.
Okay.
Hashem is our Melech. Hashem is our inspiration. Mm-hmm. Relate that for me, please, to the very first of the Simanim, the one Siman which probably in the Jewish world over, is probably